Buenos días. My name is Driena Sixto, and I strongly support this measure because Miami-Dade is exactly the kind of community that should host a presidential library. I'm a proud Latina American, meaning my allegiance is to this country and its laws, and I'm also a proud Miami-Dade Honors College alumna, class of 2014. I currently serve as a Spanish media director at the Lincoln Media Foundation, and I'm vice president of the Miami Young Republicans, but I'm here today representing only on behalf of myself. Miami is one of the most immigrant-rich major cities in America, with about 58% of our residents being foreign-born. This county was built by people who come from pretty much everywhere. We've rebuilt our lives, and immigrants powered the culture and economy that make Miami what it is today. And last year, November, this county voted for Donald J. Trump, earning over 51% of the vote, largely because immigrant families supported him. This presidential library isn't a partisan issue regardless, but let's address what some speakers in opposition to its creation have said today. The primary critique for it is the baseless claim that President Trump is anti-immigrant. What's funny and curious is how most of the people here claiming Trump is anti-immigrant are clearly not immigrants themselves. They're older white liberals, just facts, you know? Maybe they're trying to live out their white savior fantasy on behalf of communities they don't belong to and don't understand. The other anti-presidential library protesters seem to not even be legal permanent residents from what I've seen. Yikes, right?
Please address her. Please address her.
Shame on you.
Please address your comments to the board, not to participants.
The audacity to protest the tradition of a creation of a presidential library in the United States is insane. Meanwhile, most of the people speaking in favor of this measure today are legal immigrants or the children of legal immigrants. We're ethnically diverse, as you've seen here, and we don't need anyone speaking for us, so no gracias. If President Trump were anti-immigrant, Miami, this capital of immigrants, would not have voted for him, nor would he have nationally received the largest percentage of the Latino vote for any Republican in history. But beyond politics, this measure simply makes economic sense. A presidential library brings millions in annual tourism, hundreds of local jobs, major academic conferences, international visitors, and a permanent economic anchor for the surrounding neighborhoods, like other presidential libraries have done nationwide. If a presidential library is meant to tell the story of America, there is no better place than Miami-Dade County because our story is the American story. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Rochelle Vargas.
Welcome back to RSBN's Live Desk. Driena Sixto, she's in a new role, Spanish Media Director at the Lincoln Media Foundation. Welcome back. Let's talk about these SNAP programs. We have Congresswoman Nancy Mace, the Palmetto State, wants to at least use legislation to target a developing story in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where ICE agents are on the ground. It looks as if Governor Tim Walz, the Attorney General of Minnesota as well, turned a blind eye to these benefits that were going to illegal alien Somalians. What say you, Driena?
Well, I think that every single dollar that is spent in fraud is a dollar that could be going to help an American family or to help a legal resident. So this is something that every single American should care about because one of two reasons. We're footing the bill as taxpayers, right, for every single benefit, every single subsidy, everything that is supposed to be a safety net for us if one day, God forbid, we fall on hard times, which people do sometimes. And that's what these programs are for. That's why they're there. So on the one hand, taxpayers should care about this because they're footing the bill. And on the other hand, those that actually do need these subsidies because they actually do qualify for them, they should care as well because it's money being taken away from that program. And we've seen from recent reports so much fraud and so much waste nationwide. It's not just in that state. What is kind of tricky is that unfortunately only certain states have agreed to hand over reports with the information of people in their state that is qualifying, that they're qualifying for these programs, to see if there is any fraud. And there's states that are simply saying no. And that's kind of weird. That is kind of odd. And I think that this affects the most vulnerable in our country. And this is money, again, that could be spent a lot more wisely. So I think that hopefully this law passes so that there is some kind of nationwide protection. Part of this suggestion also is that every single EBT card would have a photo identification on it. It's so important because that way only the person that is supposed to be receiving those benefits does so, and they can't be, I don't know, sold as some people do for cash value. So there's just so much that needs to be done to try to put power back into the hands of the American people and put money back into our pockets that unfortunately for so much time has been completely wasted. So I'm glad about this.
And I think about the amount of times I use my ID on a daily basis for a variety of things, but it seems like with voting, it seems like with SNAP benefits now, in some states you don't have to do that. Although, as you mentioned, Secretary Brooke Rollins passing that directive back in February where 21 states are simply ignoring that. And what that means ultimately is that the fraud can exist, as you mentioned, Driena, and that mouths might not be fed, the most vulnerable in society, especially legal resident citizens of this great country of ours. Now, it seems as if President Trump has to get involved in some of the congressional battles, for lack of a better term, whether it be right, left, or center. And we have seen that with the NDAA. How do you see this, I guess, as we move into the midterms when it comes to messaging? Is affordability, is insurance cost, is that really on the top of people's minds? Because we notice from the Thanksgiving holiday, so many people traveling, so many people seemingly taking advantage of Black Friday deals and even being very generous with Giving Tuesday. So we're a consumer economy. It seems like people are spending their money.
Yeah, and obviously, I think at the top of everybody's list in terms of importance comes the economy. People vote based on how they are personally doing and feeling economically. They vote based on their pockets. But also, I think that the next agenda item is restoring trust in the government and making sure that we are being served by institutions that are there to protect us instead of having these institutions targeting anybody politically or in a biased way. So I think that this bill is something that people absolutely do care about because, yes, it should be public knowledge if the FBI is launching an investigation into any kind of political candidate for any kind of reason. The public should know about it. I think the same thing should apply to private citizens as well. I think that if the FBI is investigating me, I should absolutely know about it. And I think the same provisions should be afforded to everybody. That is kind of what this country was founded upon, in having the government serve us and not be there to target us. So yes, I think that a lot of people are going to vote in the midterms if they believe that their vote is worth it, if they believe that we have a functional country, a functional system. Or else people might think, oh, well, it's just simply not worth it. You know, the institutions there are just put there to target us based on their political biases. And so it doesn't really matter. So returning that trust to us, this is a very good way to start so that at least we know that the FBI isn't targeting our political candidates. So, yeah.
And policymakers definitely have a great outline in the Bill of Rights. Our first 10 amendments addressed all of that as we fought a revolution over these very foundational civil rights, as I would see it. And it's almost very strange, Driena, how 250 years later, we're fighting some of those very same battles over private property, search and seizure, the right to a speedy trial. And that's why we need great advocates like you out there. And tell us about your new role. Congratulations, the Lincoln Media
Thank
Group.
you.
What's it all about, especially as the Spanish media director? As far as I see it, anyone that has Driena Sixto in her corner, in their corner, is a good thing.
Thank you so much. Well, yeah, the Lincoln Media Foundation, it's a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to really getting messaging across that is non-biased, that is truthful to those in the community that are the most underserved. Unfortunately, a lot of us, to get our daily news, it comes to us without us even looking for it via targeted ads sometimes versus via what the algorithm wants us to see. And if we're really caring about politics and the news, then we might go towards certain sources to find that out. So I might go to Fox News if I want the news from a right wing bias. I might go to CNN if I want the news from a left wing bias. But a lot of people that are in the middle, they just don't do that because they know that either side is gonna, lean to their side, and so they might just not be informed. And that's kind of where Lincoln Media Foundation fills in the gap. Is we want everybody to be informed so that they make the best decisions going forward. And we make sure that the people that most need to hear the truth do so. And so, in my role as a Spanish media director, well, we know historically that there have been very limited options as to where Spanish speaking residents in the US can get their news from and stay informed. And of those limited sources, some might be extremely blatantly biased or partisan, or just sometimes deliver fake news. And that's not what we're here to do. So I am going to take an active role in making sure that we deliver coverage on what is the most important stuff happening right now in the country, and to those communities that deserve to be informed, because we need them, right? We need cohesiveness in the country so that we move forward in the best interest of this country and of ourselves, of the US citizens and legal residents here. So our Hispanic American community in the US is extremely large. We are a part of that. And so it is absolutely a valuable, important thing that they stay informed.
And a fantastic community getting more and more involved, I believe, in the daily aspect, in the culture of American life. And especially you've been a big voice, a big leader in Miami-Dade County and the surrounding area in Southeast Florida. Tell us about how FIFA and soccer play a massive role in these peace negotiations and these deals, bringing the world together, perhaps even larger than the Olympics, as we saw today, President Trump receiving that inaugural peace award from FIFA's president at the Kennedy Center.
Yes. And I think that sports are definitely a huge part of our culture, right? In the US, obviously, I'd say the more popular one would be football, but especially within the Latino culture, everywhere around the world, eyes are on football or fútbol, what they would call American soccer. There's a huge debate on the wording on that, but this definitely brings us together. And I think that this union, that this peace, basically honorary peace decorum that was given to President Trump, shows kind of a bind between the Latin American community worldwide and the United States, that has been very gracious in hosting a lot of their events, a lot of their matches. Miami-Dade County, right now hosts a soccer team, which has been kind of a recent development in recent years. There's a Miami soccer team that I still haven't been to a game yet because I haven't had the time to. But I think that this is a great way of, again, uniting the country in ways outside of politics. So I'm all here for it. I think Trump was very excited to receive that award as well, and I think this is great for our community too.
Well, I can tell you that Atlanta is ready to go. They're excited. Secretary Sean Duffy talking about it yesterday. We are ready to go to secure plane, train, automobile, and all those transportation hubs to make sure that New Jersey, Georgia, all the other host cities and states are safe, and throughout North America, where it will play host to FIFA 2026. So you might as well come up to Atlanta. We'll go to one of those games, or I'll come down to Miami, see some Miami soccer, because I know that the Mayor Suarez and the future hopeful mayor, very impassioned about the sport and what that will bring to the area.
Yeah, and well, speaking of that, I mean, just today, kicks off early voting for the mayoral race in Miami, from the 5th to the 7th, and then the election day is on the 9th. So we're going to get a new mayor of Miami very soon too. So lots of exciting stuff happening in South Florida. Lots of eyes on South Florida. I'd say, even though it feels sometimes like North Latin America, it also carries a strong heartbeat of the United States, and what a melting pot it is too. So,
and President Trump
there.
throwing his hat in that race as well. And we know that the Trump endorsement, especially in Florida, can go a very, very long way. Well, Driena Sixto, thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming on RSBN and sharing your new role. And we look forward to seeing you again on the right side of history.
Thank you so much.